Your cuffs are done very much like your waistband was. If you look at your guide sheet, it told you to fold it in half, right sides together, stitch at 5/8. Remember, you are doing the 2 by 2 by 2, just like we just did on the waistband. And then you will finger press that seam open. Give that a good finger press. We're going to take off the notches. We don't need them anymore. So I will take the notches off. And then you fold that cuff in half, right sides together, so that those seams are looking at each other. And this becomes your cuff band. Now we want to do the same thing that we did with the waistband, with the cuff. We want that ease evenly distributed. So I'm going to line those seams up. Put a pin in that seam, and then I am going to actually find halves, if you will, of that cuff. And your pattern came up, you can see I put a little clip there. So there's a clip. So now I've got the cuff lined up, half and half, and now I want to find quarters. So if I take my 2 pins and I line my 2 pins up, then I can find the quarters of it. And the reason that we are doing this is we want to be sure that we distribute the ease evenly around that leg. So I found my cuffs and quarters there, and I'm going to do the same thing to my pant leg. And I'm going to pick one of my seams and put a pin in it. And this is where you've got to be careful with your seam allowances and keep them the same direction the entire length of your pant leg, so they don't change direction heading down your pant leg. So look up to your waist to see what direction your seam is going. Mark that. Okay. So I've got one pin in here, and if you look, when I put this in quarters, it's not exactly on the other seam. The back of your pant leg and the front of your pant leg are different sizes. Now if I line my pins up, then I have found a quarter again. And found that quarter. So I've found quarters on my pant leg, and I have found quarters on my cuff. I'm going to take my cuff again, because if you look at these, just like the waistband was slightly smaller, the cuff is smaller than the pant is. And it will be easier to sew if the smaller piece is inside the larger piece. So I'm going to put my cuff inside my band, lining up the one side, the one seam with the seam that I marked there, pinning those together. Okay. Then I come again, match my notches. So we're going to match the match my pin to my pin, match my pin to my pin, making sure I'm keeping those quarters. Match my pin to my pin. And now I've got that same thing I had before, where I've got a little bit more pant leg than I have band, and I'm just going to pull that a little bit. I've got a little bit more pant leg than I've got band, and I'm just going to pull that a little bit. Okay? So you'll find it will be easier if you'll take the time to go back and put one more pin in between. The distance is short enough this time that you can just kind of hold on to it. If it's easier for you to go back and use your cork board again like we did before, you can use that cork board. But if you can just hold both sides and stretch that out and sew that, you can stretch and sew. And that is sewn in place. Okay. Now we're going to sew this again with your stretch stitch. So we're going to go back to the 2 by 2 by 2. Come to the sewing machine here. And I'm just checking to make certain that I've got my seam allowances heading the same direction at the bottom as they head on the top, so don't twist them heading down.